Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're here again, taking that huge pile of research, tech docs, all that source material, and boiling it down to what you really need to know.
Getting straight to the points.
Exactly. And today, we are diving deep into, well, maybe call it a logistical miracle for musicians. We're talking about that age-old problem. You're a guitarist, you need those classic keyboard sounds live. You know, the Rhodes, the whirly, maybe some clavinet funk.
But you definitely do not want to be lugging actual vintage keyboards around.
Not a chance. The weight, the maintenance, forget it.
Yeah, I mean, think about a real Rhodes suitcase or, heaven forbid, a B3. It's just not practical for most gigging bands. The sounds are iconic, essential even, but the barrier to entry logistically was huge.
Which brings us right to our focus today, the Electro Harmonix Key9 electric piano machine. That little box from EHX that landed in 2015.
Right.
Our mission here is to unpack the sources, look at how this pedal wasn't just, a cool effect, but how it fundamentally changed the game for guitarists' sonic options, and how it really locked in a major product line for Electro Harmonix. Okay, let's unpack this.
So, setting the scene, 2015. EHX was already making waves with this concept. They'd had huge success already with the B9 organ machine in 2014, then the C9 organ machine earlier in 2015.
Right, the organ pedals, which were great, but the Key9 felt like different, a bigger deal maybe.
I think so, strategically. The B9 and C9 were fantastic for nailing those Hammond sounds, but organs, while amazing, are maybe a bit more specialized. The Key9, though, it aimed right at the sounds that were, absolutely fundamental to funk, soul, R&B, jazz fusion, so much classic rock.
We're talking electric pianos, that warm road sound, the bite of the Wurlitzer.
Exactly. That was the core motivation you see everywhere in the sources, pure practicality. It was sold straight up as a tool for guitarists, sometimes bassists too, to cover those crucial keyboard parts live.
So if you're in a smaller band, maybe a trio, and you need that Supertramp keyboard line or some Stevie Wonder funk.
Suddenly you could do it, right from your pedal board. No extra keyboard player needed, no vintage gear headaches. It was like solving a production problem with a stomp box.
Okay, let's dig into the tech then.
The
architecture. How does it actually do that? Getting those really complex, harmonically rich piano sounds from just a regular guitar input.
Yeah, that's the clever bit, isn't it? It's all down to digital signal processing, or DSP. Specifically, it uses an engine built on the same kind of polyphonic digital tracking tech EHX pioneered in their POG series.
Ah, the POG. Most people know that for clean octaves up or down, right?
Yeah.
How much of a leap is it from that to mimicking a full keyboard sound?
It's a significant leap. See, with the POG, you're mainly focused on tracking the pitch cleanly to shift it. Simple enough, relatively speaking.
Okay.
But the Key9, and this is really crucial, the DSP wasn't just tracking pitch. It was specifically tuned and optimized for keyboard timbres. That's much harder.
How so?
Well, think about how a piano note decays. It's not just volume fading. The harmonics change, the tone evolves, it's complex. Electric pianos, too, they have their own unique envelopes and overtones.
Right.
If the pedal just tracked notes and slapped a generic sound on, it would sound, cheap, like a bad synth. The Key9 had to nail the tracking and accurately model that complex harmonic decay and filtering. The fact that it worked so well showed they'd really cracked something difficult.
Which makes the simple user interface almost more impressive. You've got all that complex tech under the hood, but on top, it's just a standard little EHX pedal with 4 knobs.
Exactly. Super approachable.
You've got your standard blend controls first, dry, which is just your clean guitar signal volume,
Through.
and keys, which control the volume of the keyboard sound itself. And blending those two is, that's where a lot of the magic happens, creating sounds you couldn't get otherwise.
Absolutely. That blend is key for textures. Then you have the 2 control knobs, Cretrol 1 and Cretrol 2. These are the ones that really shape the emulation.
Okay, so Cretrol 2 is usually, like a secondary thing? Modulation speed or tone brightness, something like that?
Yeah, generally Cretrol 2 handles a more global parameter, often modulation speed or maybe a filter or brightness control, depending on the preset. But Cretrol 1... that's the interesting one. It changes its job entirely based on which sound you've selected.
Right. And this is something that comes up in the user feedback, the reviews. Everyone praises the simplicity, but isn't having Cretrol 1 do 9 different things? Sometimes it's tremolo depth, sometimes it's adding bell tones, sometimes attack. Isn't that potentially confusing, especially live?
That's a fair point, definitely. It's the one control that really asks the player to, do their homework a bit and remember what it does for each preset.
Yeah.
But the argument, and it makes sense from a design perspective, is that it was a necessary compromise. To keep the pedal small, in that standard XO-size box, they couldn't have dedicated knobs for tremolo and bell tone and filter cutoff and everything else.
It would have been huge. Defeats the purpose.
Exactly. So making Curl 1 contextual was the smart way to give you the most important shaping parameter for that specific sound. So for the Suitcase EP, yeah, it's tremolo depth because that's vital. For the clavinet, maybe it's more about the filtering or muting. It's actually quite an intelligent use of limited space.
That does make sense. Keep the form simple, even if the function has layers. Okay, so connecting this back to EHX's bigger picture.
Yeah.
The Key9 was the third pedal in this Compact 9 series line, right? After the B9 and C9 organs.
Absolutely. And it was strategically vital. It proved EHX could successfully move beyond just organ sounds. They showed they could tackle other complex keyboard instruments polyphonically.
That shift from organs to electric pianos, that was the key move.
I think it cemented the whole line, yeah. It demonstrated a huge demand for these specific electric piano and keyboard sounds in a pedal format, and that success directly led to them continuing the series with things like the Emulan Mellotron pedal in 2016 and the Synth 9 in 2017. The Key9 really opened that door wider.
Okay, let's get into the sounds themselves. Because 9 presets, that's a lot of ground to cover. Here's where it gets really interesting, right? This isn't just one generic piano sound.
No, not at all. It's like a curated museum of classic keyboard tones.
So starting with the big ones, the electric pianos, you get 4 main flavors. There's the classic Rhodes preset, smooth, bell-like. Then the Suitcase EP.
Ah, the Suitcase. That's maybe the iconic Fender Rhodes sound, right? Think jazz fusion, R&B from the 70s. And it famously had that built-in stereo tremolo.
Which naturally is controlled by Creel 1 on that preset. Makes sense.
Then you've got the Wurlitzer. Completely different vibe.
Yeah, the whirly sound is all about that bite, that bark almost, like in Supertramp's Logical Song, right? That slightly gritty, reedy tone.
Precisely. The Key9 lets guitarists just dial that attitude right in, a sound you just can't really get with standard guitar effects.
When it covers electric grand pianos, too.
Yep. There's the Electric Grand preset, aiming for that bright, percussive Yamaha CP80 sound. You heard that a lot in late 70s, 80s rock. Think Peter Gabriel, Genesis, that kind of era.
Big, bright, cuts through a mix.
Right. And then there's also Dynamy EP, which is described as a more dynamic, maybe slightly more modern voiced electric piano sound. Versatile.
Okay, so 4 solid EP foundations.
Yeah.
But the sources, the reviews, they really rave about a couple of the other presets in particular.
Oh, yeah. 2 standouts consistently get mentioned for accuracy and usefulness. One is the 88 preset that's your bright, pretty convincing acoustic grand piano emulation, useful for ballads or more classic rock stuff.
But the other one, the one that seems like the killer app, especially for certain genres.
It has to be the clavinet.
The clavinet,
Yeah.
universally hailed as like a game changer in this pedal.
Right.
For anyone listening, just think Stevie Wonder, Superstition. That super tight, percussive, funky rhythm.
That is the clavinet sound. And before the Key9, getting anything close to that with a guitar was tricky.
Yeah.
Involved weird filter pedals, maybe pitch shifters. It was a whole process.
And now, just turn the knob.
Just turn the knob. And that's why this pedal became and remains just indispensable for funk players, soul guitarists, gospel musicians. It gives them that rhythmic attack, that percussive quality that really only a keyboard could provide before. It lets the guitar function in a totally new rhythmic way.
And it didn't stop at just piano and keyboard types, right? It branched out into tuned percussion, too, which feels like a real bonus for sound design.
Definitely. Yet the Mallets preset, that cover sounds like vibraphone, maybe marimba or xylophone. Bright, metallic, attack-heavy sounds, great for adding unusual textures.
Opens up different sonic possibilities.
And then the really unique one, the steel drum preset.
Steel drums, that's pretty specific.
It is, and it shows EHX was thinking beyond just letting guitarists cover classic rock keyboard solos. This preset lets you jump into completely different genres, reggae, world music, calypso, or just use it in the studio for a really unique textural layer. It gives a band a sound they almost certainly didn't have before.
Okay, so the tech is clever, the sounds are definitely there and cover a lot of ground. But the big question, did it actually solve the problem in the real world? Let's talk practical applications. Did guitarists really start using this thing live?
Oh, absolutely. That number one use case we talked about, letting guitarists in smaller bands cover keyboard parts, was huge. Think of a power trio trying to pull off Queen or Earth, Wind, and Fire. The Key9 suddenly made that feasible. It fills that hole in the sound.
And it's not just about covering parts, is it? That blend knob, opens up creative avenues too.
Totally. Funk and soul players especially jumped on this. Blending, say, 50% dry guitar with 50% clavinet, you get this amazing hybrid texture. The attack of the guitar, the percussive funk of the clavinet, it's thicker, richer than either sound alone, a real sonic advantage.
Create something new.
Yeah. And don't overlook for studio use. If you're songwriting or demoing and you just need a quick Rhodes part or want to layer in that steel drum texture without firing up a bunch of software instruments or miking a real keyboard, bang, instant results. It's an efficiency tool, too.
Makes sense. So looking back now, what's the long-term impact? I mean, the pedal's still being made today, right?
It is. Still in production, still popular. That's probably the biggest sign of its success. It wasn't just a flash in the pan. Especially with those core users, the funk, soul, gospel players, they rely on the accuracy of those clavinet and Rhodes sounds. It hasn't really been superseded for what it does.
So it did more than just sell units. It kind of validated EHX's whole approach with the 9 series.
I'd say it solidified it, yeah. By successfully expanding beyond organs into the much broader category of electric pianos and other keyboards, it proved the concept was robust. It showed there was a real market for high-quality, compact emulations of non-guitar instruments.
It cemented EHX as leaders in that digital emulation space.
For sure. And its success, commercially and critically, definitely spurred on competitors, but it also paved the way internally at EHX. Like we mentioned, without the Key9 proving the formula worked for sounds like Worley and Rhodes.
We might not have gotten the ML9 Mellotron pedal later on.
Exactly. The MLL9 used that exact same format, 4 knobs, 9 presets to tackle vintage tape-based string and choir sounds. The Key9 was the crucial bridge that proved the concept had legs beyond organs.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. What's the big takeaway here? What does this all mean for you, the listener?
Well, I think the core insight is that the Key9 wasn't just another effects pedal. It was really a smart, strategic solution to a real-world problem for gigging musicians.
That logistical nightmare we started with.
Right. It took sophisticated polyphonic tracking technology and laser-focused it on putting those absolutely essential, genre-defining keyboard sounds, especially the Rhodes, the Worley, and crucially the clavinet, right onto a guitarist's pedal board.
It made playing and even writing more complex, layered music.
Yeah.
So much more accessible for bands everywhere.
Definitely. It democratized those sounds to some extent.
Okay, final thought then. Something to leave our listeners chewing on.
Well, thinking about that core technology, how they successfully took the polyphonic tracking from the POG pitch shifter and adapted it to recreate something as harmonically complex as an electric piano.
Yeah.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? They established this incredibly successful blueprint with the 9 series compact box, simple controls, 9 carefully chosen sounds. If they could make a guitar convincingly sound like a clavinet or a mellotron, what else could they emulate? What other complex instruments, maybe orchestral sounds, maybe vintage synths, maybe even more exotic world instruments, could potentially be brought into the guitarist's toolkit using that same proven formula? The tech works, the format works. The possibilities seem pretty wide open, don't they?